Amy here with Never Grow Up Vacations, and now it's time to come fly with Amy. If you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Amy. I live in Orlando. I am always on vacation. I am a professional traveler and a travel agent. So if you're looking to book your next trip, let me know. So I haven't really done a talk video recently, but I was inspired to do one. So I'm going to take a few minutes here to talk about a topic that I think is very important to talk about. If you like to see more graphic videos about, seeing content and seeing places, skip to my next video or the previous one, as I have a whole plethora of videos of places I've been to. But if you're looking for some information, stay with me here for a few minutes as I talk about travel insurance. Yes, I know, a terribly boring topic, but I'm gonna make it very informative for you. So the reason why I wanted to talk about travel insurance is one of the most common questions I get as a travel agent is, should I get travel insurance? My quick and easy answer to that is, it is up to you. I cannot decide for you. I can tell you my thoughts, which I'm about to do, but at the end of the day, only you can decide of whether you want to upfront some money in case something happens or save a little bit of money and risk if something happens. So before I continue, my thoughts and my opinions here that I'm about to share are my own. These are my philosophies that I live by when I personally travel, and this is also how I advise my clients. So let's start with that. I'm not endorsing any sort of travel insurance product, although I will recommend a couple here today. But again, my thoughts and my opinions are only my own. Okay, so let's break up travel insurance by domestic. I'll talk about domestic first, and then I'll talk about international, and I'll kind of talk about the thought process behind that decision of whether you should get it or not. So domestic, I will say about 50% of my clients get travel insurance when traveling domestically, but a couple of factors go into that. So I would say destination is a huge factor. Vendor is a huge factor, and I'll get into that in just a moment. And then again, it's up to you. Some people are like, I never go without it. Some people are like, I always go without it. So you have different types of travelers. So first, when I say destination, so think about Florida. Perfect example. Florida has a ton of storms. We have hurricanes. The weather is oftentimes not good to fly in. Let's say you are waiting to depart your flight, going back home from Orlando, and the weather's terrible and your flight cancels. Most of the time, and most airlines will try to rebook you on the next possible flight, but that may not be till tomorrow. So let's say you have to spend the night in the airport. Well, a last minute room may be expensive. And remember, when it is something out of the airline's control, you have to foot the bill, right? So hotel, perfect example. Let's say you're buying that hotel for that one night that you unexpectedly got delayed, you will foot that bill. You can claim that on travel insurance because that's considered a trip delay. So that's the perfect example. Weather is the most perfect example of why you should get travel insurance, whether domestic or international. Vendor being the second best example. Some of your low-cost carriers, i.e. Spirit, Frontier, those are the most common too. Sometimes JetBlue, they're a little bit wishy-washy sometimes on this topic. Sometimes, if their flight cancels, they will just give you your money back and say, good luck, find your way. And I have had examples of that happening, and I've heard of examples of that happening. That is not an ideal situation. Some of your legacy carriers like American, Delta, United, they will try their darnest to get you where you need to be. So typically if one of their flights cancels, they will bump you onto the next flight. But each airline treats this a little bit differently. So why I say that vendor is important, if you're flying Spirit and you're a family of 5, and all of a sudden your flight just gets kiboshed, totally canceled, and they say good luck to you, that's expensive. That would then be an expense you either have to decide in the moment, oh, we're gonna just cancel and not go, which is not ideal, or you then say, oh, let's just buy a last minute ticket on so-and-so airline. Obviously, last minute ticket on so-and-so airline is going to be expensive. That can also be covered under travel insurance. So that's another great example of 2 examples domestically why you should do that. So moving on to international and why you should do it. Anytime I travel international, anytime I have clients, I highly recommend. International for me is a zero question. You should always buy travel insurance when flying internationally. And a couple of reasons for that is obviously COVID proved that travel requirements are a thing, can be a thing, are continuing to be a thing for certain destinations. Luckily, all of those COVID requirements have mostly dropped for almost all destinations. We don't have to test anymore, which is lucky, but it just proves that you never know when that policy could come back. During the COVID era, I did have a couple clients that unfortunately did test positive while in Europe. And for anybody who's traveled to Europe, last minute stuff in Europe is not cheap. So here you are, first of all, freaking out because you're positive in Europe and you're stuck there for another week. You have to then foot that bill of that hotel, any groceries, any additional airline costs, any transportation costs, all of that can be covered under insurance. And in the example I just gave with my client, this person was stuck in Europe for about a week. The additional bill was about $2,000, and we were able to get all of that back on insurance because we went through the proper channels, we did the proper procedures, and we filed that claim and got that money back. So that's a wonderful example of why to get travel insurance. I also want to say, most of the time when you travel internationally, you probably will need a connecting flight. Another great example of insurance here is I had some clients traveling to Argentina. They were connecting in a very large hub. They were, just one flight to Argentina. Their first flight had a maintenance delay, which out of control, right? That is, the airline does assume fault for that because that's something, maintenance is one of their things. And they ended up missing their connecting flight and were stuck for a full another day because there was only one flight a day to Argentina. So this example, this client was then put in a hotel overnight, but then you gotta think food, you sometimes have to do more COVID testing depending on what those rules are, any additional transportation costs, all that's covered. We also, in that example of Argentina, remember you typically prepay for your travel package. So they lost a full hotel day as well as a tour on their arrival day. We were able to claim all of that, and we're in the process of getting that back. So that's another great example of, especially when traveling international. But overall, you gotta think about the what ifs. What if your baggage gets lost? That is covered under travel insurance, and that does happen often. Again, what if your flight is delayed? What if your flight is canceled? That is typically covered. What if you are overseas and you get very ill? That is covered. A lot of your health insurance, American health insurances, will not cover in international destinations. Some do, you have to check your policy for that, but a lot of insurances do not carry over. So you have to plan for the what if you need something, what if something happens, what if you get hurt. It's always that what if. When you decide travel insurance, most of the time travel insurance is not all that expensive. It's only a portion of your cost. So people usually ask me, how much does travel insurance cost? It all depends on what vendor you use. So if you add it on as part of your airline tickets, maybe a small little cost because they're upselling you on that insurance. If you're purchasing it with your vacation package with that vendor, maybe a small cost. Personally, when I travel, I use two companies that I like. TravelX Insurance is really solid. They have different plans under different rates. So you can essentially decide what coverages you want, and that'll factor to your price. So when using TravelX, I've noticed that typically the cost is about 10% of your overall trip. So let's give you the example of you have a $1,000 trip. Your travel insurance will probably be about $100, give or take your age and your where you reside. So I like TravelX a lot. I've used it with a lot of clients. I use it personally, tried and true. I like it. The other insurance that I personally use is called RoamRight, and the coverages, I'll be honest, are similar to TravelX, but the reason why I like it is they have an inclusion where you can cancel for work reasons, and I find that to be unique. There's other insurance companies that do that, but I've been using RoamRight personally for that. With me and my husband's travel schedules, we have had to cancel trips last minute because of work. Because of that, you just get a letter from your employer stating, hey, we needed them, they can't go on vacation, and we were able to get our money back. And that was for a cruise a couple years ago. So if you're nervous or you have a high pressure job that you're just not really sure, Rome rate's for you. I will be honest, almost every trip, almost every cruise I go on, cruises, I highly recommend insurance. You just never know. Insurance is very cheap on cruises. I think, we just are going on this 3-night cruise here in a couple days. I think we paid $58 a person. It was about that. Like, that to me is a drop in the bucket compared to what could happen. You gotta decide for yourself. You gotta decide if insurance is for you. Again, domestic, questionable, depending on where you go, depending on what vendor you're using. International, zero question, get your travel insurance. Lastly, my last little thought here, as I continue on, me as a travel agent, I do assist my clients through crises, and they do happen. More likely than not, as of lately, they have been happening more likely than not, just with travel delays, flights being crazy, weather being crazy. I will be there for you if that happens. Like I said, a couple examples there. I have helped clients through scary times when they're traveling. The last thing you want to worry about is, how do I figure this out? That's the last thing you want on your trip. So allow me to help you through that. And if you do decide to book with me and get insurance through me, that is a service I do provide, is I will help you figure it out. We will get you where you need to go, and we'll make sure we get your money back if you decide to buy travel insurance. And in closing, I hope this video was helpful to you. If you did find it helpful, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel, because I do show lots of content of cruising and destinations, and occasionally I do travel talks where hopefully this is just helpful information to you. If you're looking to book your next trip, my details are listed in the description, or drop a comment and let me know your thoughts. If you have further questions about travel insurance, I will try to assist with answering them. Drop them in the comments down below. Always read the fine print, figure out what your travel insurance does cover. And until next time, happy travels, bye.